Hi everyone, welcome to our session on EndNote Basics, hosted by Library and Information Services at UHN. Thanks for joining us. My name is Ruhi. I'm an information specialist with Library and Information Services at UHN, and I will be your speaker for the next hour. I have my colleague Raluca. She is our workshop coordinator. She will be posting resources in the chat today, and also she will be monitoring the chat for questions. So please type them out in the chat and she will address them or just bring them to my attention. And I hope we will have some time at the end of this session for some additional Q&A. Now this workshop actually can give you a perspective of comparing between EndNote and Zotero, and then you can decide which one fits better with your project in hand. Both are great tools and sources, and just kind of, I would say, comes personal aspect of that, and also what your project demands of using that tool. So today, we will be talking about some features of the EndNote Desktop that help with referencing at all stages. It means from storing and organizing references to inserting and formatting citations and creating a reference list in your Microsoft Word. We are hoping by the end of today's session, you will learn how to open and save an EndNote library, ways of bringing references to your library, how to remove duplicates, find full text through EndNote, organize your references by creating groups, explore the Cite While You Write feature, and at the end, if we have some time, we will have a small talk about sharing your library. We have two versions of EndNote. One is desktop and the other one is EndNote Online, which is also called EndNote Basic. EndNote Desktop is a licensed version that requires a purchase and software installation. And once you have installed the software, you will also have access to EndNote Online Premium. EndNote Basic is a free online version of EndNote. That only thing you need is to create an account with the Clarivate website. Once you create the account, you will have access to all the features that EndNote Online offers. So when you download your EndNote Desktop, you should be able to see the EndNote tab within a toolbar of your Word document. That would be something like that. So you should be able to see this EndNote 20, and with all features comes with that EndNote 20 with your Microsoft Word. But for the EndNote Online, in order to use the features of Cite While You Write tool, you have to download the plugin, and then you will have access to all features of this tool. So when you create the account, you have the EndNote Online account, and then you go to Downloads. Under Downloads, download the Cite While You Write. If you are interested in differences between the EndNote Desktop and EndNote Online, there is a EndNote feature comparison chart at Clarivate websites, which has a complete list of the features between two versions. Here I'm just going to highlight some of them. For example, it comes to a number of bibliographic citation styles. EndNote Desktop offers you more than 7,000 predefined output citation styles, and also you can create your own. But EndNote Online just has top 21 most commonly used style. For the full text, you can just, the one is one of the actually our objectives. You can find full text through EndNote Desktop, but you are not able to find it through online. It comes to creating groups. Online version is limited, so you cannot create group sets or group smarts, but while you can create the group smarts or group sets in desktop version. So just to now explore the features of EndNote Desktop, let's open a library and go through the functions of this library. If you have downloaded EndNote on your desktop and you want to follow along, please click on EndNote tab to open a window which allows you to create a new library, or you have a library already created to open that library. But here we are going to create a new library. I'm going to click on the library, and here, as you see, a window opens to allow me to save my library and name it. I'm going to save it on my desktop and then just save it as a session, EndNote Library session, but it's up to you to name it the way it makes sense to you and save it the place it will make sense for you. So now let's save this one. And when I saved it, as you see, I see my EndNote library, and also I see an associated folder with my EndNote library, which is these two parts, they have to stay together because my library is the place to store the references, while this folder allows my library to function. So anything I'm doing with my library, adding references, adding attachments, or modifying the references, is because of this folder I have here. If you want to move your library, you have to move them together. If you want to change the name of your library, you have to change the name of this folder to exact name you named your library. Because if you don't do that, these two don't communicate and your library will be corrupted. If you decided to send your library to your team, the best way is to create a compressed library, which includes this folder and your library and all contents you have in your library. Let's see how we can create that compressed library and share it with your group. So let's open my library, the one I have. I already saved it, so that's why I have to go to the opening the existing library. Now, as you see here, I open my library and I want to share this library or send it to my team. So you go to File and select Compressed Library, and then save this one. After you create the compressed library, send it to your team. And they are able to open that library. When they are opening that library, they will have the same library and the folder on their computer. Now let's navigate our library window. See what we see when we open the library here. There are three panels in our library, which is one is the left panel. On left panel, you see information of if you are syncing your library, syncing status, number of references you have here. If you created the groups, you will see the list of groups and then how many references you have there. If you are using the find full text, you will see how many PDFs your library found or how many they couldn't find, and so on. At the center, we have two panels. One is search, the other one is the reference list. This search panel helps you to find references within your library. For example, you have, excuse me, you have a 100 references in your library and you are looking for the specific author and you want to make sure you got that reference from that author. So you can just search by the name of author within your library. In the reference list, anything you bring to your library is going to be listed here, and you have an option of sorting them out by just clicking on this field displays we have. You want to sort it by author or title and so on. For this field display, also you have an option of changing the order and also the field you want to see. To change the order, you just click on the field you want to change and then drag it. For example, I want author appears before title. And if you want to have different field than I have here, you can just right click on any of these tabs and then a list will appear. You can add or remove any fields you want to see here. Also, you can change this field by going here, this icon here. If you click, a window opens, which gives you an option of changing the field display. You can see this window through if you go to edit menu at the menu bar, click on that and select preferences, actually this is going to come very handy, going to preferences, because this is the place you can customize your EndNote, the setting of EndNote. And you see the display fields on the second option, and then again you can change the fields you want to see. After you change, say apply, okay, and then your customized field will appear here. You also see some icons here. These are the most common used features of EndNote, and just for easy access, they are displayed here. Like for example, this is when you want to insert a citation, when you are using the Cite While You Write feature, adding references, and so on. You also have access to all these features through the menu bars, going to 3 different bars from here, menus from here. What we see on the right side of the library, it's the actually summary of our reference here. And also edit tab, it allows you to modify the fields. For example, sometimes when we add a reference to our library, not every field comes complete, and sometimes we have to edit them. Then this is the place you can edit your field, like author's name is wrong or the year is wrong, so you can change the year or any changes you want to make. And then after that you make the changes, you want to move to the different to the second reference library is going to ask you if you want to save it or not. So click save and then save your changes. Also, there is a PDF tab here, which allows you to see the attached PDF. You can have a direct look from your library, or you click this one. It can open in a different window, and you see the PDF. Like other software citation managements, you can make a note or highlight or underline or strike out the selected text. Again, any changes you made to your PDF, at the end, when you are closing, is going to be asked if you want to save it or not. And also we have, which has to show somewhere here, there is a preview panel for your reference. Depends on what style you are using, is going to show the citation for that style. So if you, for example, here I have used the APA 7, you will see the citation appears this way. If I change it to Vancouver, so the citation will change to this one. So this is a preview of various output citation styles you can see here. If you want to close it, you just click on the arrow here, it will disappear, and again, you can see that one. So any questions regarding library? Okay, so we move on. Now we have our library. Let's bring some references to see what other features this library has, and we can use to our advantages. Can see the right panel? Oh, you have to click on your reference. Do you have any references on your in your library? If you don't have any references, so you won't be able to see it. That's why I have one reference to just to show you the right panel. When we bring the reference, you can see the right panel. Okay, perfect. So let's bring some references here. There are different ways of bringing references. One of them is going to databases, do your search, and then export the results from there. In this case, I'm going to use 2 bibliographic databases, which is Medline and PubMed, and one online source is Google Scholar. So let's go to to Medline and Embase. We have access to both databases through UHN Virtual Library, Medline here, and PubMed. So please, if you want to follow along, to go to UHN Virtual Library. If you are working remotely, just type UHNLibraries.ca in your browser search box, and then you will land on this page. If you are on site, just go to UHN intranet, and we are the first tab on the black taskbar. So let's start bringing some references here. I already did my searches just to save some time here, and let's see, I'm happy with my searches and I want to export the results to EndNote. So I go further down the page. I don't have too many results, so I can use them, select them all. And then you see that the middle of the page, there is print, email, just and export. Click on export. A window opens. Under format, we have a few options. One of them is EndNote. Select EndNote. And under fields, I want to bring all the references available through a complete reference. I mean the complete citations information Ovid provides. I want to have them in my library, and also make sure you have all these two links checked off for the finding full text. And then say click export. As you see, file downloaded on my computer, click on the downloaded file, and then all references appears in my library. Let's go bring some from PubMed. Again, I did the search already in PubMed. To bring the references, you go to Send To tab, select Citation Manager, and then gives you option if you want results on this page, or you want all results or the selected one. I'm going to bring the all results, create file. Again, file downloaded on my computer, click on that, and they all go to my library. Let's bring some from Google Scholar. Google Scholar, you have an option of bringing individual references or batch of references. For individual, I do have an option of import into EndNote. If you don't see this one in your Google Scholar, you can go to these three bars here at the left top corner, click on that, select setting, and then when you go to setting, you see there is a bibliography manager. By default, this one checked off, so change it to show links to import citation, and then select EndNote from the list, and then say save. This way, then you will have an option of importing to EndNote. Let's import this one to my EndNote. Again, reference is downloaded on my computer and added to my library. Let's try to bring in a few of them. In order to bring a batch of them, you have to log in using your Gmail. I already logged in, so Google knows my account now. To select a few of them, so you clicked on the start sign, and then a window appears, asks you where do you want to save them. I'm just going to put on the reading list, but you can create a label based on your project, and done. Let's bring another one, and one more, and then to see the selected references, you go to my library, and then reference list, the place I saved them, and you see the export all option under the search box. So you click on that, select EndNote, and then click on the downloaded file. All of them appears here in my reference library. So now in total, I have about 105. These are the references you can bring directly from your online sources. You see everything went smoothly. Sometimes the direct export doesn't work, so you have to save it in RIS file and then import them to your library. RIS file is a coded text file which EndNote and that text communicate and know how to put the references in the right field. Another way of bringing the reference to your library is manual entry. Sometimes we have a article, a reference which is not available through online sources, and we have an in-print one. And the only way we can add it to our reference is going to be manually. You can add a reference by clicking on this icon here, or you just go to reference to menu and then click on menu, reference, select new reference, and the window appears. There are a few things you have to consider while you are adding manually. One is reference type, because based on reference types, all fields will change. And also when you are adding author's name. Author's name, if you have multiple author's name, you have to enter each author's name separately in each line. For example, you put Smith, last name, comma, first name, enter, and then go to the second author's name. If it's a corporate author's name, corporate or institution, you have to put a comma after institution name. For example, University of Health Network, then comma will EndNote understands is the corporate author. And then put as many as information you have here, because we want to have a complete reference. At the end, save, and then your reference will appear here. Another way of bringing the references to your library is a save PDF. Sometimes a colleague recommended a paper to you, or you find it from other sources and you save the PDF on your computer. We have an option of bringing individual PDF and also a batch of PDF. So let's try the individual PDF first. You go to File and then Import. From Import, you select File, window opens, and then you look for a PDF you have saved already, and then open. The only thing you have to make sure is the import option here has to be set to PDF. And then leave these two boxes as a default and just click on Import. And my PDF appears with the full citation and then PDF attached to my citations. And to bring the multiple PDFs, before bringing them, it's better to set up a PDF handling for your EndNote. So you go to Edit, Preferences, and the window again, this familiar display we see here, you go to PDF handling. Here you have an option of asking EndNote to rename your PDF when comes to your library. Like I selected author, year, title, so even I didn't save it under this format, EndNote will change it to this format. And also here I tell the EndNote to go to the folder. I have all my PDFs saved there. And then also I have an option of enabling automatically importing. It means when I close my library and I add a new PDF to this folder, EndNote will recognize there is a new PDF. As soon as I open my library, it will import the new PDF to my library. And then you say apply, OK. So now let's bring that folder to the library. Again, we go to File, Import. This time we are going to select folder. And go to select a folder. I have PDFs here. OK. And then import. So there are a few PDFs, so it takes a while to come, but I will have them all here. As you see, I got all my PDFs here and all of them attached, and the name appears the way I asked EndNote. So now we have all our references here. These are the 3 different ways of bringing your references to your library. The next step will be removing duplicate. Well, what happens since I brought the references from multiple sources, there is a big possibility I have some duplicated records here, and EndNote helps with removing them. By default, EndNote identifies duplicate references with matching author, year, and title fields of the same reference type. If you want to customize the fields for EndNote to look for those fields at the same time while it's looking for the duplicate references, you can go to Edit, Preferences, and then Duplicate. Click on Duplicates. As you see here, I selected more fields to force EndNote, when it's looking for EndNote, also look for all these matching fields too. And then you apply, say OK. Now let's remove some duplicates. To remove duplicates, you go to Library. You have to be on all references, and you go to Library, find duplicates. Well, since I have a very strict rule, so I couldn't find, because sometimes you see journal articles, they are abbreviated or the author's name appears differently. I'm going to change the setting to make it less intense and help finding duplicates. And DOI is one of the things mostly make it hard to find duplicates. Okay, let's go to Library, find duplicates. Here we go. Since I changed the fields, we found 5 duplicates in the my library, but that's a nice thing. EndNote opens a dialog box and shows you the fields. They are not complete. As you see, those fields are highlighted when they are different between two records. And then you have an option of selecting the one has more fields, or you can just add them to other record and keep that one. Now I'm looking at this one, comparing this. I'm deciding to keep this one. And then you just click on the keep this record, and then it moves to the next record. Again, you can compare until you finish your all duplicate references. But sometimes we have thousands of results here, and we don't have time really to compare between two. So what happens, you have an option of closing this dialog box, and then EndNote highlights all duplicated references, and then you just screen through them, and you see if they are really duplicated, you will remove them and put them in trash. But one thing, when you put them in trash, you have to be careful not to delete them from them, because sometimes by mistake we put a reference which is very relevant to our topic, and by mistake we put in trash. So I will later in this session, I'll go back to see how we can save the stuff we have in trash for future reference. And then what happens, I can just highlight them and move the one they are duplicated and put them in trash here. There is, if you are working on a systematic review or scoping review, there is a very good article which helps with the steps of deduplicating in systematic review, and I would recommend to go through this article to find the right steps for removing duplicates, because we always deal with many results, like sometimes more than we even imagine, like 20, 30,000 results, and then it's better to know how to go through them and remove the duplicates. Any questions? About the features we talked so far? Okay, so let's move to the next feature, which is finding full text. When you are on site, so, EndNote recognize your IP, you are affiliated with the institution. Okay. Yes, I see something here. Sure, Joseph, definitely I will show the Google Scholar at the end of the session, definitely. I'm just going to make a note. Okay. It's finding the full text, which if you are on site, EndNote will recognize your IP and goes to your institution resources and find the full text. When you are working offsite, you can actually let EndNote knows you are affiliated with the institution and add the links to your EndNote, and then when you are finding full text, it will go through your institution resources. How to add those links? Again, we go to Edit, Preferences, and find full text. In case of UHN, we have these two links. One is for open your URL path, and the other is for just identifying you are affiliated with UHN. So you apply, okay. When you use this one for the first time, it's going to ask you to log into your institution. So let's try to bring some full text. I'm just going to add a few, because if we go through all of them, it takes for a while. And then click on find full text. As you see, it's authentication, and I will say continue. If you look at the left panel, it shows it starts searching for full text. So far, find 2, 3 PDFs, and as soon as they found the EndNote finds the PDFs, attaches to the citation, which is the nice thing about. And still is searching for 3. So we have 3 PDFs and 3 URL. What happens with URL? Sometimes EndNote and the source doesn't communicate well, and it just opens the URL. And you can just go to the reference, find the URL. If I click here, and then check it by clicking on URL to see if we have access to full text or not. If we have access, you can download the PDF on your computer and attach it here. I'm just going to attach a random PDF here to see. It's very easy. You just go to the place you save your on your computer, and then PDF appears here. That's the easiest way of adding your PDF here. And another way of bringing the PDF to your library, let's see, we did the search. I'm just going to go to the PubMed search. As you see here, when I did the search in PubMed, I see this purple, it says view PDF here. This is happening because when I downloaded my EndNote Desktop, also an extension called EndNote Click, downloaded on my browser, which this one allows you to view the PDF. And if you are interested in adding the PDF to your library, it allows you to add that one too. So let's see this one for PDF here. I view it, I see, oh, this is relevant. I want to add this one to my library. On the left side, you have an option of adding to your desktop. So I click on that. And I will say yes. And already added to my library, as you see. So this is another quick way of bringing the citation with the PDF to your library. Now let's see, we have all these references here, and I see, well, I have a very large reference here, and I want to organize them. Somehow I would be able to work with this library. Based on your project and what you want to see from your library, you can create groups and put them in a different groups, and then review them in a smaller number of references. For example, if I'm using this library for screening, you can click on My Group, right click on My Groups, or you go to the menu bar, click on Groups, and then create a group that makes sense for your project. I'm going to use for screening, so I'm just going to create groups for the citations I want to keep. For the citations, I'm sure I'm going to exclude them. For the citations, still I'm not sure I'm going to keep them or not. And also I can change my group set name, rename your group set, to screening. So let's bring some citations to my groups. For example, these are you go to all references. These are the one, they are maybe. You can just highlight and drag them to that group you want to say. These are the one I want to use them as a reference. And these are the one I know definitely I'm not going to use them. So they're good. Also, you can create a group based on the author's name, or if you are working, a few people are working in this library, then you can just create a group for each person's name and then divide the references between them. So it depends on what's the purpose. You can just organize your library. And also here I said that for the trash, we want to keep everything, just not to lose any reference, potential relevant reference. You can create a group here. It would be a group for without duplicates, and then a group remove duplicates. So what happens here, I have all references, the one I have removed duplicates from here. So I don't want to, when I go through the references, I don't want to again go through the duplicated references. I select them all and bring them here without duplicates. And then I go to trash and I bring the references, I have it in trash and add it to remove duplicates. As you see, when I put the reference back from trash to this group, my references, the number went back to the original. So from now on, anything I want to do, I will work with this group, not with the all references. It just keep in mind, if by mistakes you delete a group, don't worry, the references you have there is not going to be deleted. They stay there with all references. The only thing you lose, that's the group you created. And then you can create again. Any questions about creating groups and organizing? There is one group set I want to just quickly to point to that group. It's call it group, creating a smart group. What happens when you create a smart group? Actually, you are asking your library to find the references based on your search criteria. For example, within this library, I want to find the references. They are talking about chemotherapy. And I name my group set chemotherapy, and I'm going to create this search criteria for my library to look for the references, to search for term chemotherapy in any field, and then say create. Once the group created, as you see right away, EndNote identified there are 63 references they use chemotherapy. So this is a very good way of organizing your library. And also another benefit of having a smart group is when you do a search on this topic and bring a new reference to your library, if that reference uses chemotherapy, EndNote by default will add it to your group. So then you don't have to worry about bringing that reference to this group. Any questions? Yeah. So if we have no questions, we move to the next feature of EndNote Desktop, which is using Cite While You Write. This is a feature that's also available through other citation managers, but then the only, I would say, the big difference here, EndNote provides you with more output citation styles, and then you have an option of using that one. To use this feature, you need to open your Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word, and I'm going to have them side by side just to make it easier to see. I think when you are sharing a screen, it's really hard to move the. Okay, I leave it here. So to bring some references to your paper, to your documents, you start typing your title, your abstract, anything. So I'm going to just type something here, and you leave the cursor the place you want to add your citation. You have an option of adding citations through a Word document or through EndNote. So let's try the Word document first. You go to Insert Citation, and then there you have options here. I'm going to click on Insert Citations. A dialog box opens, and already I have someone here, but if I want to add someone else, you just put the author's name here and then click on Find. It goes to search your library, finds the right reference and displays it here. So and then you just have to highlight that reference and say Insert, and it appears here. Bring the next reference. I need to go to the EndNote, so I can just select a few and go to this icon here, or you can go to Tools, Cite While You Write, and then Insert Selected Citation. So you have an option of going to the menu bar or the icon you have here. As you see, all appears here. This is the style I chose, is Vancouver, so that's why they are appearing like this. And in between, you say, oh, I made a mistake. I didn't want to reference this paper here. So in order to delete that one, since EndNote use coding to communicate with your Word document, you cannot use your backspace or delete from your keyboard. It will just ruins your paper. So what are you going to do? You highlight the reference you want to make changes, and you go to Edit and Manage Citations, click on that. Window appears and tells you which one you want to make a changes. For example, this one I want to make a changes. So from drop down menu here, ask you what you want to do. I want to remove citations. And then you say, okay. And then citations just remove from your Word document. So always, if you want to edit or anything to do with your citations, use this feature from EndNote tab. Let's say you use Vancouver, but you want to submit your manuscript to a journal which doesn't use Vancouver. It asks you to use a different citation instead. So you have an option of changing that one. You just go to the box beside style and click on the arrow to see, for example, is number. They are using number, or let's say use the APA. Or advanced cancer research. Yes, let's see if this is a journal. And then select this one. When you select the newest style, everything changes based on your newest style. So you don't have to worry about changing one by one. But if you don't see the style listed here, you just click on the select another style, and then a box appears with the list of all available citations here. Still, if you don't see your citation here, you can go to the Clarivate web page and then check for that citation and download it, add it to your library. Any questions about this? No questions? Okay. As I mentioned earlier, EndNote uses coding to format your paper and add citation. But sometimes this coding interferes with the publishers' websites, or if this is an assignment with your institution's website, which you want, they are using Ethernet in, and they won't, and then it will change the format of your paper and maybe creates lots of problems. So to avoid that problem, we have to convert this manuscript to a plain text before submitting to a publisher or, to turn it in. But what happens when you use that feature? This is you cannot undo, so you have to save your original manuscript in case if you want to add the references or remove a reference using EndNote. And then after you save that one, then you come back to this document and convert it to a plain text. How you are going to do? So in your Word document, after we save this one and we know we have a copy of this original document, you go to convert citation, and from there you use convert to plain text. And it's going to ask you again if you saved it and are you sure you want to save this one, and you say continue. I'm just going to show you the coding here, what I'm talking about. Like if you right click on highlight and right click, select the toggle, as you see, this is the coding EndNote uses. And I want to go back to what we see without coding showing. Now I'm going to convert this one to plain text. Say continue, and everything, now it's a plain text I have here. When I click on that one, it's just plain text, nothing appears, no code. So you can make any changes you want to this without interfering with the EndNote coding. Any questions here? No questions? Okay, so I think we have some time. I can talk about sharing your library. So I just click this one and make this one here. So let's say you are working with a team and you have a few people, they are using the EndNote library, and at the same time you want to work on the same library. You can share your library up to, I believe, 100 users, and then which they have access to EndNote Desktop, and also they should have an account, online account with EndNote. To begin sharing your library, you need to sync. And the syncing, there are a few things you have to keep in mind. Syncing is designed to work with only one library, so you can just sync one library. If you have 2 or 3 libraries and you start syncing them together, references from all libraries going to merge, and really you don't want that happen. Your results becomes like if you have 500 results, they become thousands of results. So you don't want that happen. Just remember that. And also, after you synced your library, don't move or rename the library you synced, because it will break the link, and then no one can work with the shared library. So these are the things you need to remember before syncing your library. To share the library, you go to File, and there is the option Sharing. Click on Share. As the warning happens, it tells you, are you sure you want to share this library? And you have to sync. But before syncing, it tells you make a copy of this library. So in order to make a copy, either you can go to create a compress library, or you just can save a copy of this library in case something goes wrong while you are syncing. And after that, you make sure you have a backup of this library. You say yes, and it starts syncing with your EndNote Online library. So that's why you have to have an account with the EndNote Online. And then after sync completed, a dialog box appears. I'm not syncing because it takes a while to sync these 100 references here. A dialog box appears and then allows you to add the email of the people you want to share with them, and also asks you what level of access you want to provide them, if it's the read only or read and write only. People who they are going to receive this library, they also need to have an account with the EndNote Online, and after that they receive an invitation and they accept that, and they will have access to all references you have and all groups you have with this library. So after they accept it, in order to have access to the shared library, they should go to File and Open Share Library. Here I have a few libraries they have been shared with me. So if I click on the shared library, I will just open that shared library and have access to any changes they made it, any PDFs they added or groups they added, I will have access to all of them. Just be careful with the sharing part. Any questions? And one thing when you are sharing, if people don't have access to the desktop, they won't be able to see your smart groups you created in their online library, EndNote Online. I will just show them how to bring references from Google Scholar. So I'm going to go back to my search I did here. To bring the individual references, as I mentioned, you have an option of importing to EndNote. So you click on Import EndNote for the citations you want to come. For example, this one. And then citation, the folder downloaded on your computer, you click on that and it appears in your reference library. If you want to bring a batch of them, so you have to log in first and then save the one you want to bring to your library. Add them to reading list or any list you want to create and say done. And I'm going to bring another one here and done. And then to have access to your saved references, you go to my library. You have saved them on the reading list, click on that, and then click on the export all under search box. You see that option, select EndNote, and then click on the downloaded folder and it will appear in your library. Here we go. And thank you for being with us. And we appreciate your time. Thank you.